Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you for a minute, because if you've ever felt confused by a woman's silence, her distance, or her hesitation, this message is for you. Now listen to me carefully. Sometimes what looks like avoidance is not rejection. Sometimes what feels like distance is actually protection. See, when a woman truly cares, when she loves you too much, she doesn't always move closer. Sometimes she steps back, not because she doesn't want you, but because she wants this to be right. A woman who loves deeply is afraid of losing herself. She's afraid of getting hurt again. She's afraid of giving her heart to the wrong version of you. So she watches, she observes, she measures your consistency, your effort, your character. She's asking herself, is this man safe for my heart? Distance doesn't always mean disinterest, and this is where most people get it wrong. In today's world, we're taught that if someone truly cares, they will always be available, always expressive, always close. But real emotional depth doesn't work like that, especially for a woman who feels things deeply. When her emotions are strong, her instinct isn't always to move forward blindly, it's to protect what she values. And if she values you, she may create space, not to escape, but to think, to feel, and to make sure her heart is making a wise decision. A woman who has emotional awareness understands the power of attachment. She knows that once she lets herself fall, she doesn't fall halfway, she falls completely. That awareness makes her cautious. She steps back to slow her emotions down, to observe your actions without the fog of infatuation. This kind of distance is intentional. It's not cold and it's not careless, it's thoughtful. She's asking herself hard questions in that space. Is this man consistent? Does he respect my boundaries? Does he show up the same way when things are easy and when they are not? Emotional self-protection doesn't come from weakness. It comes from experience. Many women have learned that loving too fast or too openly can lead to disappointment, betrayal, or emotional exhaustion. So when she creates distance, she's not punishing you. She's managing her feelings. She's making sure she doesn't pour her heart into a situation that can't hold it. That space becomes her filter. It allows her to separate words from actions, promises from patterns. Distance can also be a test of emotional maturity. She wants to see how you respond when she's not constantly present. Do you become impatient, insecure, or controlling? Or do you remain steady, respectful, and consistent? A man who understands emotional protection won't chase aggressively or withdraw in anger. He'll show quiet confidence, and that response tells her more than any conversation ever could. When a woman truly doesn't care, there's no emotional effort involved. She disappears easily. There's no inner conflict, no overthinking, no emotional weight. But when she cares deeply, distance feels heavy to her too. She thinks about you during that silence. She replays conversations. She measures your intentions. The space may look calm from the outside, but internally, it's full of emotion and reflection. This kind of distance is also about preserving dignity. Loving someone deeply can make a woman feel vulnerable, and vulnerability without safety is terrifying. Creating space gives her control over her emotions, so they don't control her. It allows her to move from impulse to intention, from desire to discernment. Understanding this changes everything. Instead of assuming rejection, you begin to see restraint. Instead of reacting with fear, you respond with stability. And stability is what makes emotional protection unnecessary over time. When a woman realizes her heart is safe, the distance slowly dissolves on its own. Not because she stopped protecting herself, but because she no longer needs to. A woman who loves deeply moves carefully, not casually, because her heart is not something she gives in pieces. When she feels a strong emotional connection, she understands that her love is intense, loyal, and consuming. That awareness changes how she behaves. Instead of rushing forward on emotion alone, she slows herself down. She becomes intentional with every step, every word, every decision, because she knows that once she commits, She commits fully. This careful movement is not confusion. It is self-respect mixed with emotional intelligence. Deep love carries responsibility. A woman who feels deeply knows that love can shape her life, her peace, and her future. She is not just choosing a man for today's feelings, but for tomorrow's reality. That is why she observes more than she speaks. She notices how you handle stress, how you treat people who cannot benefit you, how consistent you are when no one is watching. Casual affection doesn't require this level of attention. Deep love does. She is not dating for excitement alone. She is evaluating for stability, growth, and emotional safety. Careful movement also comes from understanding her own patterns. Many women who love deeply have learned that intensity without boundaries leads to imbalance. So they create structure. They pace themselves. They don't reveal everything at once. They don't attach immediately, even when they want to. This isn't manipulation, it's maturity. She's learned that love should be built, not rushed, that the strongest connections are formed when both people move at a pace that allows trust to grow naturally. When a woman moves carefully, she is also protecting the quality of the connection. Casual movement often brings mixed signals, emotional chaos, and uncertainty. Careful movement brings clarity. She wants to know where she stands and where you stand. She wants alignment, not guessing games, so she may pause before responding, think before committing, and take time before opening her heart fully. This deliberateness is her way of honoring what she feels instead of cheapening it. Men sometimes misinterpret this careful pace as a lack of desire, but the opposite is often true. Desire without care fades quickly. Desire with intention lasts. A woman who loves deeply wants her feelings to be respected, not exploited. She wants to know that if she gives you access to her emotional world, you will treat it with care. Moving slowly allows her to see whether you have the patience and emotional steadiness required to handle her depth. There is also courage in careful movement. It takes strength to resist impulse, especially when emotions are strong. She is choosing long-term peace over short-term pleasure. She is choosing wisdom over fantasy. In doing so, she is not withholding love, she is preparing it. She is allowing space for mutual understanding, emotional alignment, and trust to take root. When you understand this, you stop rushing her process and start respecting it. And respect is what transforms careful movement into committed love. Silence with emotion is not empty, it is full. It carries thoughts, memories, questions, and feelings that are still being processed. When a woman goes quiet but remains emotionally connected, it doesn't mean she has checked out. It means she is listening inwardly. She is sorting through what she feels versus what she knows. This kind of silence is active, not passive. It is a pause filled with intention, reflection, and emotional weight. Emotional silence often appears after something meaningful has been said or felt. A woman may step back because the connection touched her deeply, and depth requires understanding. She doesn't want to respond carelessly or react impulsively. Instead, she takes time to interpret her emotions so that when she speaks again, her words are honest and aligned. This silence is a sign of sincerity. People who don't care respond quickly because there is nothing at stake. People who care move slowly because everything feels important. There is a difference between silence that distances and silence that connects. Silence with indifference creates emptiness. There is no curiosity, no emotional pull, no sense of consideration. Silence with emotion, however, still feels present. She may not be talking, but she is aware. She notices small things. She remembers details. She reacts internally. Her heart is still engaged, even if her voice is not. That internal engagement is the clear sign that her feelings are real. This type of silence also protects emotional honesty. When emotions are strong, speaking too quickly can lead to confusion, regret, or miscommunication. A woman who values emotional integrity will choose silence over saying something she might not fully understand yet. She would rather pause than mislead, rather than express feelings that are still forming. This restraint is not avoidance. It is respect for herself and for you. Silence with emotion can also be a response to vulnerability. When a woman opens up, even slightly, and feels exposed, she may withdraw temporarily to regain balance. Vulnerability creates sensitivity. She becomes more aware of your reactions, your tone, your consistency. In that silence, she is watching not to judge, but to feel safe enough to continue opening her heart. Her quietness is her way of checking whether it is safe to stay emotionally present. People often fear silence because they associate it with loss or rejection. But emotional silence is closer to contemplation than abandonment. It is the space where feelings mature instead of rushing into confusion. It allows her to understand whether what she feels is temporary emotion or something lasting and meaningful. That distinction matters to someone who loves deeply. Understanding this kind of silence requires emotional maturity. It means not forcing conversation, not assuming the worst, and not reacting from insecurity. When you respond to emotional silence with patience and steadiness, you communicate safety, and safety invites expression. Over time, that silence turns into clarity because she feels understood rather than pressured. Silence without emotion ends connections. Silence with emotion prepares them. Women test consistency before offering full commitment because consistency is the only proof that feelings are real and sustainable. Words are easy to say, especially at the beginning, but consistency requires effort over time. A woman who values emotional security understands that attraction can be temporary, but behavior reveals intention. So instead of rushing into commitment based on promises or emotional highs, she watches what stays the same when excitement fades. Consistency shows up in small, ordinary moments. It's not just grand gestures or intense attention at the start. It's how often you check in without being reminded, how you show up when you're tired, and how reliable you are when there is nothing to gain. A woman notices patterns. She pays attention to whether your energy changes, whether your words align with your actions, and whether you remain emotionally present, even when things slow down. These details tell her more than declarations ever could. This testing is rarely deliberate or manipulative. It is instinctive. Emotional safety is built through predictability. When someone is consistent, the nervous system relaxes. The heart feels less guarded. A woman who loves deeply needs that sense of steadiness before she can fully surrender emotionally. Without it, love feels risky. With it, love feels possible. Consistency is also about emotional regulation. A woman wants to know how you handle frustration, distance, disagreement, or stress. Do you disappear when things are uncomfortable? Do you become defensive or cold? Or do you remain respectful, calm, and communicative? These moments matter because long-term connection isn't built during perfect days. It's built during imperfect ones. She is quietly observing whether you can be trusted with her emotions when things aren't ideal. Another reason consistency is tested is because inconsistency creates confusion. Confusion leads to anxiety, and anxiety erodes intimacy. A woman who has experienced emotional ups and downs in the past knows how damaging unpredictability can be. So she becomes cautious. She wants to see if you can provide emotional continuity, not emotional chaos. This doesn't mean being perfect. It means being reliable in your intentions and effort. Consistency also signals respect. When your behavior remains steady, it tells her that you value her presence beyond convenience or mood. It shows that your interest isn't dependent on constant validation or immediate reward. That kind of respect allows her to feel chosen, not chased temporarily. And feeling chosen is essential for a woman to invest deeply. When she sees consistency over time, her defenses naturally soften. She stops questioning motives. She stops preparing for disappointment. Her trust grows quietly but firmly. At that point, commitment no longer feels like a risk. It feels like a natural progression. The testing phase ends not because she decided to stop testing, but because your behavior gave her no reason to doubt. Consistency doesn't demand attention. It earns trust. And trust is what allows love to fully unfold. And fear of past pain can shape present behavior in ways that are often misunderstood. When a woman has experienced emotional hurt, betrayal, abandonment, or disappointment, her heart remembers even when her mind wants to move forward. That memory doesn't mean she is broken. It means she is aware. Pain teaches lessons, and those lessons quietly influence how she approaches new connections. So what may look like hesitation is often wisdom earned through experience, not lack of interest. Emotional wounds don't disappear just because time has passed. They soften, but they leave impression. A woman who has been hurt before knows how quickly love can turn into vulnerability, and how vulnerability without protection can lead to loss of self. Because of this, she may pause before trusting again. She may need reassurance through actions, not words. This hesitation is her way of making sure she doesn't repeat the same emotional pattern that once caused her pain. Past pain also creates heightened awareness. She becomes more observant, more sensitive to changes in behavior, tone, and energy. She notices inconsistency more quickly. She feels shifts more deeply. This sensitivity is not insecurity, it is self-preservation. Her heart has learned what it feels like to ignore red flags. So now she pays attention to even the smallest signals. That careful attention can look like distance, but it is actually discernment. Hesitation often appears when emotions begin to deepen. As feelings grow stronger, so does the risk. A woman who has been hurt may feel a conflict inside herself. Part of her wants to open up, and part of her wants to protect herself. This internal struggle can cause her to slow down, pull back slightly, or become quieter. She is not running away from you. She is managing fear while trying to honor what she feels. Another effect of past pain is the need for emotional safety before vulnerability. She wants to know that her feelings will be handled with care, not taken lightly or used against her. So she watches how you respond to her boundaries. She observes whether you pressure her or rush her or dismiss her concerns. Respect makes her feel safer. Patience reassures her. Over time, these behaviors help her separate past pain from present reality. It's important to understand that hesitation is not rejection. Rejection is clear and final. Hesitation is uncertain and emotional. If she didn't care, she wouldn't struggle. She wouldn't think. She wouldn't fear losing something meaningful. The very presence of hesitation often signals that what she feels matters to her. Healing doesn't happen through force or urgency. It happens through consistency, understanding, and time. When a woman realizes that her past pain doesn't have to define her future, she begins to soften again. Not all at once, but gradually. And when that happens, the love she offers is deeper, wiser, and more intentional than before. Fear may slow her steps, but it does not erase her feelings. Security and clarity bring a loving woman closer, not pressure, because love cannot grow where confusion and fear exist. A woman who loves deeply does not need to be chased aggressively or pushed emotionally. She needs to feel safe. Safety is created through clarity, clear intentions, clear communication, and clear behavior. When a man knows what he wants and shows it calmly and consistently, a woman's heart naturally relaxes. And when her heart relaxes, she moves closer on her own. Pressure triggers defense. It creates urgency without trust. When a woman feels pushed to decide, explain, or commit before she is ready, her instinct is to protect herself. Even if her feelings are strong, pressure makes her question motives and doubt stability. She begins to wonder whether she is being valued as a person or pursued as a goal. That uncertainty causes distance. Not because she doesn't care, but because her emotional safety feels threatened. Clarity, on the other hand, removes fear. When a man communicates his intentions without demands, it allows her to understand where she stands. She doesn't have to guess. She doesn't have to overthink. She doesn't have to fill in gaps with anxiety. Clarity tells her you are not being rushed, but you are being chosen. That balance is powerful. It gives her space to feel without feeling lost. Security is built through emotional steadiness. It's shown in how a man responds to her moods, her silence, her boundaries, and her pace. When he remains patient instead of reactive, present instead of inconsistent, she begins to trust that her heart is safe in his presence. She doesn't need constant reassurance, she feels, through his behavior. And that feeling allows her to open up more naturally and deeply. A woman who feels secure doesn't play games. She doesn't test unnecessarily. She doesn't pull away to protect herself. Security eliminates the need for defense. When she knows that her emotions will be respected and not dismissed or manipulated, she stops holding back. She becomes more expressive, more affectionate, and more willing to invest emotionally. Not because she was convinced, but because she was comforted. Clarity also shows emotional maturity. It tells her that you are not afraid of honesty and not dependent on control. You can express interest without obsession. You can offer commitment without pressure. This emotional balance is deeply attractive to a woman who loves deeply because it mirrors the kind of love she wants to give: steady, intentional, and sincere. When security and clarity are present, love doesn't feel like a risk, it feels like a choice. A woman moves closer not out of fear of losing you, but out of desire to build with you. And that kind of closeness is lasting because it is rooted in trust rather than tension. Pressure demands love. Security invites it.